Hey y'all, before this video starts, I'd like to issue a small content warning. Obviously, I'm going to be touching on the issue of anxiety and mental health, which could be a very heavy subject for some, but alongside it, I'll be touching on subjects like drug abuse and alcoholism. However, I won't go too deep into it. I will be providing timestamps and plenty of time to skip before I start on the subject, so I recommend keeping an eye out if you're sensitive to that. Remember to please seek help if you're struggling. I know it could be scary, but I can guarantee someone somewhere will notice if you got hurt. Now, enjoy the video! Hey y'all, I'm Ali, and I have really bad anxiety. I have a few different kinds of anxiety. Some I feel irrational, while others I acknowledge are irrational. One anxiety I deal with a lot is social anxiety. I'm autistic, so growing up socializing with other kids was just never easy for me. I got bullied a lot because I didn't get social cues and I came across as weird. Which, they're not wrong, but come on man, you didn't bully the weird out of me, you just made me even weirder. But that's besides the point. I'm not going into everything I went through. It was bad and forced me into a very, very dark place for most of my childhood. The bullying and my experiences as a kid affected me a lot in numerous ways, but one of the main things I'm still trying to heal from is my social anxiety. I am constantly overanalyzing every social interaction I have, save for some very, very small handful of people. I'm just kind of going into every interaction automatically assuming the other person just isn't going to like me. I'm always masking in public, trying to mimic how most of the people in the room act, not out of manipulation, like how someone will succeed masking, but social survival, as dramatic as it sounds. It can all be very exhausting. I spend usually one day out of the week just cooped up in my room, trying to recover from everything. However, in spite of all of this, I still love going to conventions. I spent all year saving up for San Japan and Alamo City for Invasion, and now even added Comic-Con to the list. I eventually want to start planning for more cons, but at the moment I'm limited to what's here in my city. Though I do keep track of some of the smaller conventions and events that go on here in San Antonio just so I have something to tide me over for the big ones. There's so many things I love about going to these events, from being able to buy art and merch people make, to people watching and looking at everybody's cool costumes, dressing up myself, the panels, the raves. It's all so cool. ACFI is especially fun because I spend it in the actual hotel. It always feels like a big weekend-long sleepover to me. However, my anxiety can make things a little bit difficult. I wanted to make this video so I could show how I deal with my anxiety at conventions, especially since I wish more people talked about this when I started going. Again, this is how I deal with my anxiety. Well, I encourage you to try out any of the coping strategies I do. I can't guarantee this will work for everybody. The first steps I take are usually done before the con. For every convention, I make sure the day before that I have my earplug. I can't say this fast. I can't. Okay. For every convention, I make sure the day before that I have my earbuds, earplugs, inhaler, portable charger, fan, and mask in the bag that I'm going to take to the convention. I also give one final look over my costume or costumes if I plan on dressing up, or I set aside the clothes I plan to wear. I confirm when and where the event is taking place, and I make sure that I have a ride ready or a bus route planned out. That way, everything is ready to go by the time I'm ready to leave. I also get one final look over the convention schedule to see what I want to do. For conventions like ACFI, where I know I'll be going multiple days or staying at the hotel, I usually extend this prep to the week before and I add a few more steps. I make sure I have my ticket saved on my email and that everything is paid for. I also go to the bank to withdraw any money I want to use for the artists and dealers areas, as well as break down a few 20s for ones for tips. I also pack a week ahead so I know everything I need is ready, and I do a double check of all my suitcases the night before just to make sure I have everything. I make sure to keep a list too. So, like prepping, how I deal with certain things at conventions change. It also heavily depends on how I feel before the event. Generally, for smaller conventions, I feel pretty alright, and I don't really need that many accommodations. I'm usually only there for a couple hours, and they're usually either free events or have a small fee, so I don't feel that bad if I need to leave early. I mentioned in the com prep section of the video that I keep a few items on me at all times. My earbuds, earplugs, fan, and mask are all examples of self-accommodations that I keep for myself. The earbuds and plugs are for if it gets too loud. I'm deaf in my left ear, but my right ear could still hear, and sometimes if a lot of people are talking at once in the crowd, or if it's too loud, it can cause me to get overstimulated and nervous, and admittedly sometimes I get a little snippy. So using my earbuds to listen to my music, or noise cancelling earplugs to help me hear my friend in the loud room better, helps bring that stress down. As for the mask, sometimes I get nervous that I'll get sick, so my mask helps me feel better and more protected. And for the most part it works. I did get con crud last ACFI, but this was the first time since 2017 that I got it, so I'd say it's still overall effective. It's also just nice as a way to help me relax and not focus so much on managing my facial expressions. Excuse my language, but sometimes I have a serious resting bitch face, so the mask just helps me look a little more friendly. This part I realize is a little bit childish, especially for somebody who's well into their mid-20s like me, but for conventions like ACFI, where I'm staying at the actual hotel, I bring an emotional support stuffed animal. In the past few years, it's been bumpy. My stuffed Ankylosaurus I got as a gift a few years ago, but I recently adopted Gerardway Jr., that's his legal name, from Build-A-Bear, and I plan on bringing him along next year. These plushies are a good way for me to stay grounded, because they're comforting to hug and pet when I get too stressed. I always get comments about how cute Bumpy is, and I'm even seeing more people bring their own emotional support stuffies with them at conventions. Again, I realize it's childish, but I'd argue that conventions are a perfect place to let your inner child out. So, things are going to get a little bit heavier in this section. I'm going to be talking about substance abuse. If you feel like you can't handle the conversation, I'd suggest going to this timestamp. I'll wait a few seconds just to give you time to skip. I love the furry fandom, I really do, but I feel like there's some problems we just don't talk about. And one is substance abuse. It's almost a meme that an ambulance shows up every convention at least once because somebody gets too drunk or high. I know a lot of people who struggle with alcohol and drug use. It's an easy thing to get addicted to, especially for people who are neurodivergent and feel like the only way they can socialize is when they're under the influence. If you're struggling with this, I would definitely recommend seeking professional help if possible. So I'm recording this as I'm editing because I feel like I needed to make another quick point. When stories pop up about drug use in the fandom, I usually see a few people pop in with this very judgmental mindset. It's usually in the vein of, well, they knew what they were getting into, so they don't deserve support. You know, just the whole like fuck around find out mentality. And I think that's a very cruel and privileged thought to have when it comes to this. Mental illness can vary with severity, and sometimes it pushes people to do these very self-destructive things, either as a form of self-harm or as an escape. You don't know people's stories from a quick glance. You don't know what they've gone through, and you don't know what they're currently going through. If there is one thing I want to achieve with this channel, it's to try to get people to just be kinder to each other. We have a surplus of judgmental, selfish people. We need more kindness out there. Okay, enjoy the rest of the video. One thing that does help me a lot when it comes to drinking is having some good friends to spot me. They usually offer me water or snacks, they remind me to slow down if I'm drinking a little too heavily, and I also usually try to limit myself to 3 drinks a night. And yes, I count each shot and cocktail as a separate drink. I'm not going to sit here and call all alcohol or even all drugs evil and say we should never take them at all. After all, I still like to drink to loosen up a little at night, and I think so long as it's legal and relatively harmless, and that the person is an adult and being responsible about it, that it should be fine. If you are a minor, definitely don't drink or do drugs though. Your frontal lobe isn't cooking yet, just wait a few years, trust me. So back to lighter things, I really am grateful I have a few good friends in my life. We all try our best to support each other, and for the support they've given me, I'm so grateful. It's nice to have a friend there to reassure me and to keep me company when I need it. Though I realize not everyone has the privilege of having a friend group like mine. I used to be alone for a very, very long time. I wish I could give advice on how to make friends, but the truth is, I don't really think there's a set way to do it. In my case, I met someone special, someone patient and kind, someone who gave me the courage to talk to people and put myself out there. And now I stream with him at twitch.tv/SciFiLOL almost every Monday at 5:30 p.m. Central. I am so sorry I had to sneak that promo in somewhere. But I really am grateful I got to meet my friends. The best piece of advice I could give you is to be patient. Be patient with yourself, be patient with others. You can never force a friendship, and not everyone is going to match your wavelength, and that's fine. Though going to a convention, even alone, can be a great first step in finding that group. It's hard living with social anxiety, especially if it's mixed with other disorders and disabilities, and doing things like going to a convention can be very scary and very draining, but I cannot state how worth it is. If there's a convention going on near you, I highly recommend going, even if it's just for one day. That's all I gotta say today. I hope you liked this video, and I hope I convinced a few of y'all to check out a con near you. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Today's question is, have you ever gone to a convention? And what's your favorite thing to do when you go to them? Mine is people watch. I have my link tree with all my social medias linked down below, and with all that said, bye bye!